to break this glass ashtray gavel. The Intercollegiate Athletic Commission is now in session. For those who are in our audience tonight, I think it's best that we identify ourselves. First, the voting members to my right. The minutes from the last meeting, namely of October 2nd, 1968, have been distributed. I think again, for the benefit of those who are present, with the permission of the Commission, I will read these minutes. Is there any objection to this? The series of charges against the athletic department and others closely associated with the department and its functions. The chairman, after reviewing the duties and responsibilities of the Commission, revealed that he, the Chancellor, and James Gregory, a member of the Commission, met on October 1st, 1968, with approximately 12 black athletes and representatives of the Black Student Union. At that time, the black students in attendance individually presented grievances which were contained in the position paper. This document was then presented to the members of the Commission. And if I might interrupt myself here briefly, you have been presented with a series of specifically mentioned, directly or otherwise, and as at least I understand our system, these people have been accused. I've been coaching for 34 years, and maybe 36, and they've all been boys to me. They'll be boys to me, black, white, or blue or pink. And I show it because I think the average person they're my boys. About a young man who regarded as a son for the last 2 years has been in the home. His children have gone to him, my children have gone to him in the hospital with Button, Leroy, Leroy. There's little bit of a shock that he's ultimately been forced. He was here last Monday, by the way, and this original petition was signed in the black athletes. And we have to quote by athletes. You understand the 20 people signing. It's not one of them wrong about the uniform or participated in the athletic contest.
somebody has been called names, it indicates he's been doing something, and in this case, if they use that as their excuse for the decisions they've made, that's all right with me, but it seemed a little bit silly to me.
How important do you think it is?
Oh, I don't think it makes much difference. I think the people in this district make up their minds on the basis of what a legislator does and what a candidate for the legislature does. And certainly the record that I have built over the past 4 years as assemblyman, twice elected, of every single bill being enacted for this district, of service to the cities and counties in the district and the special districts, the fact that we have on a number of occasions bailed out the city of Santa Barbara, as a matter of fact, in the legislature when they have had problems.
Well, then I think what you're saying to me, in effect, that the argument really isn't valid. Can I ask you then, have you stepped on a toe or two over at Delegate Plaza?
Well, I have no idea. I certainly have tried to serve every area of this district. I don't belong to the news press. I never have. And I don't intend to belong to any group anywhere in this district. And it was indicated that they'd like to have their own boy in Sacramento by the rest of the editorial. Well, that's fine if that's what they wish. I think it's necessary to serve everyone everywhere in the district, and that's my position.
When University of California, Santa Barbara, presently having some upheaval called institutional racism, do you plan to, or have you already looked into that situation to see what it's all about?
I have looked into the situation, Bill, and I am absolutely convinced that all of the people in the university at Santa Barbara have done everything possible to see that black students, brown students, and students of all races, all creeds, all national backgrounds have an equal opportunity on that campus. Certainly, I think that Jack Curtis has done an excellent job in the athletic department, too. I am convinced that some of the charges that are made, the people who are making them may believe them, but I'm convinced they're not true.
You're convinced that there's no such thing at University of California, Santa Barbara called institutional racism?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
But let me say a few things in general about this. That the kinds of things that are occurring here, I think, can be predicted not only here but elsewhere in the state. A year ago, in December, we had a blow-up at San Francisco State, and the groundwork for that one was just about the same as this. I served on the committee which investigated the San Francisco State situation, and there were people who were not really interested in the redress of grievances at all, who had cooked up charges against President Summerskill, and they were able to create such an intolerable situation at San Francisco State that they finally succeeded in removing the president. And here, through the same kind of scheduling of various sorts of upsets and events, they can do exactly the same thing. And I should hope not only that every politician would use restraint in this, but also realize that the administration of the university here in Santa Barbara is in a very difficult situation, that it's very easy to play into the hands of those people who would like to destroy this university.
When this whole thing is designed, as I see it, as far as KEYT News has been able to ascertain, is designed with the appearance of Eldridge Cleaver at the University of California, Santa Barbara. And it just so happens that same day that Governor Reagan will be speaking in town. Now, if it is designed around Eldridge Cleaver, aren't those opponents to Cleaver's appearances on campus at the University of California, aren't they really right in their thinking that this man is trouble?
Under these circumstances, it would seem to me that the wisest thing to do would be to cancel the appearance of Eldridge Cleaver. It would seem that with the circumstances that are there now, and with the involvement of the groups which he is involved, that the wisest thing would be to cancel it, because the proper laboratory kind of situation cannot prevail on that campus at a time that it's in turmoil over charges of racism.
But when at this moment the black dissidents are on the offensive, they are not about to cancel Eldridge Cleaver, which only leaves one other, and that is to cancel the governor and his appearance. Now, the plan is pretty well boxed in everything. What's the out?
Well, at this point, I think that the university, using whatever authority it has, should see that that Cleaver appearance is canceled.
And you're talking about Chancellor Keating, who is pretty well boxed in right now.
He is in a very difficult situation, and I don't want to give him advice, and I really shouldn't. At the same time, under the circumstances that prevail, the reasons for any kind of appearance by Mr. Cleaver simply, any legitimate reasons could not be obtained. And furthermore, I should hope, even though I have very many differences with Governor Reagan, that Governor Reagan and his appearance in Santa Barbara be treated with every bit of respect that any governor of the state of California be treated with.
Doctor, a question in my mind is, when you first found that the black dissidents had taken over North Hall, or that wing of North Hall, I'm wondering why you didn't act at that moment to see that they were extricated from the building.
Well, as you know, the doors were barred and chained, so they'd been in there apparently pretty early in the morning, maybe even the night. And we had to probably break down windows to get in. And according to our people, there was a threat to destroy the machinery in the computer center. And what was most difficult was the fact that there were irreplaceable data in the center, which would have been destroyed too. So the reason for not moving in at once was exactly that.
Another question, Doctor, is the fact that it seems as though these students who took over a hall on campus got off pretty easy. A suspended suspension, so to speak.
Well, yes, I can understand that. The general reaction of people is that we should toss them out of school. you know that we've been working very hard to get black students on the campus because we've not had very many. And I'm convinced personally that we must work very hard to solve the difficult situation between blacks and whites. And there isn't any question of what the blacks have done on the bottom of the totem pole. I don't care how we look at it, who's responsible, whether they are, we are, or who it may be. I mean, in our society, we are. So we feel a definitive responsibility to make some relatively massive move in this direction. And we know that when we work to get larger numbers in here, that we also would likely to have difficulty trying to understand them and they understanding us. And we just got started off on a pretty rugged fall with regard to this. So the kind of disciplinary action we took, in view of the circumstances, seemed to be the reasonable one. And we have to remember that we have a whole series of disciplinary actions that we take with students through censure and probation of one sort or another, on up to suspension and finally to dismissal. We almost never use expulsion because expulsion means that you never go to any other accredited school the rest of your life. And you know, that's just almost an impossibly severe kind of penalty unless someone is just obviously is practically a murderer. And so the suspension is a stiff term because it means that they're out of school. And under these circumstances, we suspended the suspension, which means that the moment these people are involved in any kind of breaking of the rules, and this is proved, then their suspension is lifted and they're out. So it's not a very simple sentence that they're given. I mean, a very easy one.
I personally think that the treatment that was afforded to those who grabbed control of North Hall at the University of California at Santa Barbara was too lenient. And I think, though, that the important thing now is for the university officials to make it very clear that any future activity of this kind, whether engaged in by those who are engaged in this or by anybody else, will be dealt with harshly and immediately. There can be no compromise with anarchy. And those who seek to destroy the university, and that's really what they're going to accomplish if this sort of thing is permitted to continue, they must not be allowed to continue without repression.
I wouldn't put it that way, Bill. It's a little more complicated than that. Although I guess most people reduce it to these more simple terms. I can see why you want to put it that way. It seems to me that they made, as you know, some what I call demands, including some that obviously we could not grant. And when we, with a group of people, say those statements, I then wrote the statements more or less in the same order in which they gave them to us, but quite different from their so-called demands. And although the newspapers say that the demands are met, that's simply not true. Because part of the things we were doing anyway, and this was down there set just to once again make them visible for publicity's sake and to emphasize them, and that I think is all right. Furthermore, they demanded amnesty. And we just could not give them amnesty. It cannot be done. Because even though this may be a very difficult circumstance in which we finally got ourselves, amnesty is just out of the question. Because that means that people go scot-free, and we just can't have that. Furthermore, we've now, I think, learned that students here on this campus will do these things which they never have done before, and that therefore the action we shall take hereafter will be action more in keeping with what, in fact, may take place. We hope that there won't be any such thing taking place again. But our action, as I mentioned in my, at least by indirection, in my statement, which I guess you may have got a copy of, which we gave them each a copy, that we intend that this place be run on the basis of negotiations and logical dialogue not by coercion and intimidation. You just can't have a university under those circumstances. And therefore we can't, over any period of time, allow this kind of thing to happen. So my stance is that it's necessary to get stronger actions. We'll take stronger action. Under the circumstances, I think what we did is right, otherwise we wouldn't have done it. Now, it's a long-winded reply, Bill, but it's not a very simple problem.
What is this new organization going to do, Gary?
Well, the primary purpose is to have the majority express their viewpoints in the manner of procedure. Now, we are not saying that the minorities or other groups on campus can't express themselves, but rather that we want them to go about doing it in the right way, due process, if you so call it that. And this is our primary motive behind the whole organization, that a majority of students can speak out. We feel that the majority of students on campus are not being heard. Only one side of the argument is being heard. And we are after everybody being able to be heard on both sides of the question. Now, we are not a strictly rightist organization, but rather we are appealing to the moderate, the middle group of people.
You're saying then that your organization would be against what happened out at North Hall the other day, the takeover of a building.
Yes, because it is against procedure. They did not have to do what they did in order to get what they were after accomplished. For the primary purpose of, well, North Hall, for example, everything that they were asking for, the majority of which they were asking, was already under consideration. So all we are asking is that they stay within the limits of the established policies in school. This is our basic philosophy.
Do you expect any problems in selling this program out there?
Yes, I think so, because people on campus, these groups who have to appeal to this type of manner of action, say that they've expired all means of doing this. We don't feel that that's the case. We do feel that there is a necessity for change, but we think that the change can be accomplished by going through the right channels, and it's as simple as that.
Founder of this organization, how did the idea come about and why?
There were many forecasts that this year that revolutionaries would try to do illegal acts, and we think this is very detrimental to the university community and the university as a whole. And we started this organization with the idea in mind to keep any dissent or grievances into the right channels, and this is how it's come about.
Well, let me ask you this. Your ideas, which Gary construed as being possibly right, but rather on a moderate basis, the very fact that you are involved with the symbols of rebellion, so to speak, the long hair and the beard and so forth, is this not somewhat inconsistent with what your thoughts are?
No, definitely not. I personally am the more conservative of the two of us, but that is my personal appearance is mainly a style that I like. I feel there's a more conservative style in the style of like Abraham Lincoln or any of the original